Wall Street Journal in an editorial board opinion that was published yesterday.
Which day was that?
Okay. May 6th, the literal day of the ground invasion of Rafah. Wall Street Journal published Why Israel Must Take Rafah.
Wow.
That is criminal. That is criminal. There's 600,000 children in Rafah. The majority of Palestinians have been displaced into Rafah for the last 7 months. They've lost their homes. They're living in tents. They're being bombed in tents while they're starving. They lack medical supplies. They lack clean water. They lack food. They lack sanitation. And the Wall Street Journal published Why Israel Must Take Rafah. And it wasn't some wacky writer that doesn't represent the views of the institution. It was the editorial board. Essentially, why Israel must implement the final solution of Palestinians in Rafah. Meanwhile, Anthony Blinken told us when he was in his little panel with Mitt Romney at the John McCain Foundation or whatever that clip was, he told us very clearly, the biggest change that I've seen in these last decades is where people get their information. There was a time when you used to just go outside every morning and pick up a print copy of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, and that's where you got your information. But now people are seeing images of suffering and it's affecting them. And so basically what Anthony Blinken wants is for you to read a print version of the Wall Street Journal and have that be the only place where you get your information, and never speak to Palestinians and never see the images or the videos that Palestinians are showing you about what they're actually going through, the slaughter that they are enduring day in and day out. He wants you to just be informed by reading the Wall Street Journal, a detached policy piece on why Israel must take Rafah. That is genocidal. And everyone has said it. The UN has said it. Operation Rafah will be a tragedy beyond words. WHO said it. An incursion in Rafah will plunge Gaza into a deeper crisis of unprecedented levels. Doctors Without Borders said it. Nowhere in Gaza is safe. You can't go into Rafah. Human Rights Watch has also said it. Literally every international institution, human rights expert, international expert of any kind, people on the ground and outside of Gaza, have absolutely said what will happen if Israel brings ground forces into Rafah is going to be a massacre of unprecedented proportions. And that's saying a lot because in the last month, we've discovered at least 2 mass graves where there's literally been hundreds of Palestinians who have been killed in ways that we can't even imagine. But today we found out that the UN confirmed that at least some of the Palestinians were buried alive, while previously we found out that many of the Palestinians were patients that were executed in their hospital beds. So if this is supposed to be worse than all that we've already seen before, and everybody knows what we've already seen before for the last 7 months of a live stream genocide, and the Wall Street Journal says we got to go into Rafah, Israel's got to go. American propaganda is so strong and so insidious that people don't even realize they're being brainwashed.
Hey, you cannot convince me that Joe Biden is not actually the corpse of John McCain. I swear to God, they're the same person. The policies are the same. The response time is the same.
Yeah.
I wonder if John McCain's wife is like upset that she has to watch her husband's dead body be rolled around and like pretend to be married to another lady. Like, that's tough.
That's so good. That's so good. And you know what? It shows you, right? There really is no difference between these two parties, people. The fact that Anthony Blinken is sitting up on a stage with Mitt Romney and they're just, just back and forth, having their little rapport.
Literally the left and right at the same thing, talking about, damn, remember the good old days when we could just like brainwash people and they believed us?
Yeah, remember the good old days when Israel was good at PR?
And then he said we've done a bad job representing like that it's both of their jobs to run propaganda for the occupation.
You know what was perhaps craziest about that clip was the admission by Anthony Blinken that people have seen the images, and those images are reflecting a reality, and that reality is undeniable, and it's of suffering of people. And that confirms to me that he's seen those images.
Of course he's seen them. The way that he let down the veneer for even just a second, it was like he was one of the guys at the bar who'd had a tough week at the warehouse. You know what I mean? He's like, they're seeing the suffering. And it's like, yeah, we're all seeing the suffering. And then we're seeing you get up on a podium and then lie about it as a representative of the state who is committing the genocide.
Right. And he's more concerned, he's more bothered by the fact that Americans are seeing it and are acting
Yes.
accordingly than the fact that the underlying crime is taking place.
He's like, I can take images of genocide, no problem. It's when people react to it accordingly I have a problem with.
And so his solution to this whole thing is, well, people shouldn't see these things.
That's why we got to ban TikTok. That's why you got to close down Al Jazeera's offices, right? That's a normal thing to do.
That's why you got to kill 140 journalists on the ground in Gaza. That's why you have to kill Shireen Abu Akleh. That's why you have to bomb the offices of the Associated Press in May 2021 during the Unity Uprising.
These are all normal state actor things to do. And if you question it, you are actually a radical. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting how it's like it's more normal to support the bombing of journalists, the assassination of journalists, their offices destructed, right? That's more normal to many people than being like, hey, isn't killing like one journalist a war crime? If killing one journalist is a war crime, what's killing hundreds and bombing their office
And then banning them
and then shutting down their office?
and raiding them and stealing their stuff.
What is normal if that's normal?
I think that's pretty normal.
I feel like it's normal. Should we check in on
It's giving normal vibes.
It's giving normal, and don't ask questions. How dare you ask questions that everybody knows the answer to? Because we all have access to the images.
One of the other great parts of that exchange, which I think everybody must watch and rewatch because of how much the defenses were down because they thought that they were in community with the in group. You know, you're at the John McCain Institute, you're with Mitt Romney, you're in front of a sympathetic audience, right? Because the people that go to that, they're not going to be asking the tough questions. They're going to be people that agree with you, right? People that have been brainwashed. The brainwashing has worked on them. And so they're there just to,
Soak up more of the Kool-Aid.
yeah, exactly. They're there to get their dose.
Can you imagine seeing that lineup? You're like, oh, fuck yeah, Mitt Romney and Anthony Blinken. I am there. That sounds like a fantastic time.
We got to get tickets to that.
Wanda, get the kids.
We got to get babysitters. We got to go. What are you guys doing this weekend? Oh, we're going to see Mitt Romney and Anthony Blinken.
Oh, you fucking loser.
I heard it was sold out. There was another moment in that exchange where Mitt Romney basically said, well, yeah, so if you go on TikTok, they mention Palestinians so much more than all the other social media accounts. I'm sorry. So, one, is it a crime to be Palestinian? Like, they talk about Palestinians. Imagine if he said they mention Italians, they mention the Jews. Imagine if he said that. He said they mention Palestinians as if being a Palestinian and being spoken about is a crime.